Yeah.
We're unmuted. All right, I'll talk it for, yeah, I know, right? Okay, all right.
Can I walk you through that? Can I say that?
I can just type. Yeah, it's just full.
I made him respond.
Okay. All right.
Jamie, do you want this?
Welcome.
Thank you.
I'm Tom Cherry, I'm the moderator, and this is the discussion phase of the annual Dresden District meeting. The discussion phase of the Dresden School District annual meeting of 2023 is hereby called to order. The first order of business is the reading of the warrant and confirmation of the posting. So, the following warrant articles apply to the operation of the Dresden School District, which includes the operation of the Francis C. Richmond School and the Hanover High School, grades 6 through 12. Grade 6 is Hanover Town students only. The legal voters of the Norwich, Vermont Town School District and the legal voters of the Hanover, New Hampshire School District are hereby notified and warned that the two phases of the annual school district meeting will be held as follows. Discussion phase, Thursday, March 2nd, 2023 at 7 p.m. at the Hanover High School Auditorium, Hanover, New Hampshire. The virtual option will be available to attend via Zoom link, and the information will be shared via the SAU 70 district website at sau70.org. The meeting will also be streamed on JAM. Voting phase, Tuesday, March 7, 2023, from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. in the Hanover High School Gymnasium in Hanover, New Hampshire, for Hanover voters, and in Tracy Hall in Norwich, Vermont, for Norwich voters. Absentee ballots are available. During the discussion phase, the voters shall have the opportunity to discuss the following warrant articles and to transact any non-substantive business that may legally be acted on during the discussion phase under Article 6. All voting on Articles 1 through 5 shall be conducted by secret written ballot during the voting phase as provided in the Dresden School District Procedures for Australian ballot. The Dresden warrant was posted on February 9th, 2023 by Jamie T., designee of the Dresden School Board District Clerk, at the following locations: Tracy Hall, Dan and Witz, Marion Cross School, Norwich Library Bulletin, Hanover High School Gymnasium, Municipal Building, Richmond School, Hanover Food Co-op, Ray Elementary School, Howe Library, and the Etna Library. I'll now ask the Dresden Chair, Rick Johnson, and Superintendent Adams to introduce the board and administrators.
Hi, I'm Rick Johnson. I'm the chair of the Dresden School Board. Instead of going down, I'll just ask everyone just to introduce yourselves, starting with Garrett. Garrett Tong from Norwich.
Ben Keeney, Hanover.
Dave Adams, Superintendent.
Tony Berry, Hanover.
Deb Nelson, Hanover.
Kim Hartman, Hanover.
Lily Tryman, Norwich.
Kelly McConnell, Hanover.
Ursula de Blasi, Hanover.
Tom Camden, Norwich. Neil Odell, Norwich.
Lisa Christie, Norwich. I'm Carol Bevo, the Dresden clerk.
Thank you. And Jay, did you want to introduce your team?
So this evening, we have members of our administrative team here. From Richmond Middle School, we have Tim Boyle, principal, Anissa Morrison, who's the associate principal. From Hanover High School, Julie Stevenson is with us. And from our central office, we have Robin Steiner, our assistant superintendent, and Jamie Teague, our business administrator, and also the 2023 Business Administrator of the Year for New Hampshire.
Okay. The next order of business is an explanation of the school district structure. The two districts in Hanover are the Hanover School District and the Dresden School District. The Hanover School District is responsible for grades K through 6, K5 at the Ray School, with 6th grade students tuition to the Richmond Middle School. The discussion phase for the Hanover School District was held today, Thursday, March 2nd, in this auditorium. The Dresden School District is responsible for grades 6 through 12, the Francis C. Richmond School with grades 6 through 8, and Hanover High School with grades 9 through 12. The Dresden School District includes Hanover and Norwich students in grades 7 through 12, and Hanover students in grade 6. The Dresden School District was the first interstate school district in the country and was created by one of the last bills signed by President John F. Kennedy in 1963. The next order of business is establishing the meeting guidelines. Moderator will recognize speakers before they will be allowed to speak. Speakers should ask or walk to the front, in front of the aisle, and state their names and addresses for the record. All comments should be directed to the moderator. The moderator will not allow crosstalk among those at the meeting. Everyone will be allowed to speak before someone has a chance to speak a second time. Speakers should make every effort to be brief and not to repeat comments that have already been made by other speakers. All speakers should be courteous and respectful. Speakers should be certain they are addressing the business of the meeting. This means staying on the topic of the warrant article being discussed. It is the moderator's intention to recognize board members to speak to warrant articles before allowing members of the public to comment. The moderator shall rule out of order any speaker who does not respect these guidelines or who acts in any uncivil or disruptive manner. So, moving on to the articles themselves. Article 1, to elect by written ballot for one-year terms a moderator, a clerk, a treasurer, an auditor for a two-year term, and an auditor for a one-year term. Those who filed for these offices are, for moderator, Tom Chiteri; for clerk, Carol E. Bebo; for treasurer, Cheryl A. Lindberg; for district auditors, there were no filings. I'm going to move on to Article 2. Actually, Antonio. Yep. That's right.
I'm happy to take any questions, but otherwise I think it's self-explanatory.
Other than the auditor.
The auditor, I would just say that the districts are audited by independent auditors. This is a statutorily required position that we have to elect, but they're actually independent auditors who conduct the audits.
Okay. Thank you. Article 2. Shall the district determine and fix the salaries of school district officers as follows? School board member, $700 per member, with additional $300 for the school board chair. School district treasurer, $2,567. School district clerk, $500. School district moderator, $200, in accordance with Article 5A of the New Hampshire-Vermont Interstate School Compact, and further raise and appropriate the amount of $11,967 to fund these salaries. The school board recommends this article, and Deb Nelson will discuss it for you.
So this article sets the stipend for the positions of district clerk, moderator, treasurer, board members, which Tom just read for you, and the stipends have not changed in quite some time. The district clerk and moderator duties are instrumental in the district's annual voting processes. Together, they officiate and record annual meetings, set the official ballots, monitor voting procedures in the polls, direct vote tallying, and ratify results. The treasurer receives a small percentage increase between 1% and 2% each year. Their duties are mandated by New Hampshire RSA. They're charged with the oversight and independent balancing of all district funds. They review expenditures weekly and balance bank accounts monthly. After review of expenditures by the board, they sign all district-funded checks. Each board member is expected to attend monthly meetings from August through June in normal years. I really like those three words. Meetings are suspended during the month of July. During budget season, additional meetings are often required, a lot of them. In addition, board members participate in various committees such as Budget and Finance, Athletic Advisory, Central Staff Development, Evaluation, Negotiations, Policy, Program and Procedure, CPP, and PTO. A small addition was made in the 2019-2020 budget year to add $300 to the board chair's stipend, as the chair participates in more meetings than other members, as they're instrumental in setting the agenda in consultation with the administration. This article's effect on the tax rate is negligible, less than 1 cent. Any questions?
Gary Callahan, Vice Chair of the Hanover Finance Committee, speaking in a personal capacity, not a Hanover Finance capacity. I would just say, I know it's awkward for you guys to up your stipends, but I think, I think it's probably merited. You put in so much time. It's not ever going to really pay a lot of bills, but I always found in my board service that it feels good to at least cover out-of-pocket expenses and sort of expenses that you incur so that you don't feel mad about your board service. So I don't know what the right level is. That's a sort of personal judgment, but I would encourage you to maybe step up. Tom, this would have been a perfect opportunity for a departing board member to put this on the side. You should
Already been chastised, but Marcelo's leaving too.
Anyway, I would encourage you to actually seriously think about bumping it up to a level that feels comfortable, so that everyone feels not aggravated. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gary. Anyone else? Okay, we'll move on to Article 3. Shall the district vote to approve the cost items in the 2-year collective bargaining agreement reached between the Dresden School Board and the Local 1348 of the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, Council 93, AFL-CIO, which includes the Hanover and Dresden service staff, which calls for the following increases in maintenance and custodial technician salaries and benefits. An estimated increase over the status quo budget for 2023-2024 is $26,990. For 2023-2024, $34,582. And further, shall the district raise and appropriate the sum of $26,990, such sum representing the estimated increase in salaries and benefits for the 2023-2024 fiscal year brought about by this collective bargaining agreement. Note 1, the sum necessary to pay the so-called status quo salaries and benefits for service staff, if this article is defeated, is included in the operating budget in Article 4. Note 2, a favorable vote on this article shall be considered the approval of the cost items in all 2 years of the proposed collective bargaining agreement. And Lily Trajan will, the school board recommends this article, and Lily will discuss it for us.
Okay, so in January, the Hanover Dresden School Boards and the Hanover Dresden Service Staff Employees reached a tentative agreement for a 2-year period representing the following school years, 2023-24 and 2024-25. This group of employees includes custodial and maintenance technicians. There are 4 main proposed budgetary changes that were included in this agreement. The first was a necessary change to insurance plans. And I do have the details if you want me to recite them, but they were necessary, and as we know, insurance is going up across the board. The second one is a redesign of the salary scale to create 4 categories and 12 steps, and make it easier to standardize the increases between the steps. There were some language updates that were necessary, and a complete overview of all of this can be found on the SAU 70 website under the budget section and in board docs in section 3C of the budget hearing warrant article discussion. Any questions?
Kari Asmus of the Hanover / try to be Dresden Finance Committee. So we took a position to support unanimously this collective bargaining agreement. We've heard through the meetings the difficulty that the districts have had in hiring and retaining. And I think that maybe a lot of people sort of overlook the importance of these positions to the well-being of our buildings and our students. You know, when we leave here tonight, we are probably going to see a member of this union here working hard. And if you were here a couple of hours ago, you maybe would have seen the area outside kind of a mess. And somehow, if you come in the morning, then everything is clean and shiny. And, you know, that is just such an important way of starting the day for our students. And so we, again, supported unanimously the provisions of this contract, and hope that you will convey the committee's appreciation to the members of the unit.
Great. Thank you. Are there any other comments from the community? Seeing none, we'll move on to Article 4. Shall the district raise and appropriate the amount of $31,099,509 for the support of schools, for the payment of salaries for the teachers and other school employees, school district officials and agents, and for the payment of the statutory obligations of the district for the 2023-24 fiscal year. This sum does not include the sums appropriated in any of the other articles. The school board recommends this article, and Lisa Christie will discuss it for us.
Go, Lisa.
Yeah, I'm Lisa Ken. Yeah, some heart failure.
All right, good evening. So the budget was approved unanimously by the Dresden School Board. A huge thank you to the talented and dedicated administration, faculty, and community who helped develop this budget. With the greatest humility, we extend an eternal thank you to April Baraka. Didn't think that would hit me.
She was one of our long-serving SAU 70 finance managers. She'd been with us for 22 years, and she passed away on February 11th. She's an unsung hero to our schools, and she's going to be dearly missed. And we want to dedicate this presentation in her memory.
Sorry about that. Okay. All right, keep it together, Kim. Okay, this evening we'll cover the Dresden budget highlights, beginning with the summary. Then we'll dive into the expenditures at each school, Richmond Middle School, then Hanover High, and finally district-wide, which includes expenditures that span across schools, such as maintenance and debt service. And after expenditures, we'll review changes in the revenue and net assessment. We won't discuss tax rates, as those depend on your resident and are discussed in your respective Hanover and Norwich school districts. Lastly, we'll see our students' education and achievement in the progress report section. So let's begin with the budget summary. This is technically the discussion for warrant Article 4, but for purposes of the presentation, we'll include a lot of the routine articles mentioned here, including Article 4, the general budget, Article 2, the officer stipends, really as those kind of consist of our normal routine budgets. If you're looking for more detailed information, all of our budget information is available on the SAU 70 website under a section called Budgets. And now how has this proposed budget changed from last year? The Dresden budget is proposed to increase 4.42%, or over $1.3 million, over last year's FY23 budget. This chart shows the incremental increases from the FY23 budget on the left. That ends with the proposed FY24 budget on the right. The Richmond Middle School is the orange slice, and it's growing by $428,000. Hanover High School, the gray slice, is increasing by $705,000, and district-wide, the small green slice, by $183,000. Kind of keeping those same colors in mind, let's drill down into the total increase of that $1.3 million into a pie chart. Again, RMS is orange, Hanover High School is that gray, and district-wide is green. And the darkest pieces of those pie wedges are salaries and benefits, and that represents 77% of the total increase. Aside from service staff, which you've just heard about, our employee union agreements were previously voted and approved. This is the primary reason for the increase in salaries and benefits. However, a 13% increase in health insurance rates is a close second. Overall, our region has experienced 12-month inflation rates ranging from 6 to 7%, and this has played a factor in our school budgets. Turning to enrollment now. Dresden enrollment is expected to be higher at Hanover High by 6 students and lower at RMS by 16 students compared to last year's budget. We are projecting 8 more tuition students next year across both schools compared to this year's actual enrollment, which helps bring in more revenue. That was the quick overview, and now let's dive into the school-specific details, starting with Richmond Middle School. As I mentioned earlier, RMS expenditures are planned to increase at $428,000. This is the chart that depicts the changes from last year's budget by function. And RMS is projected to require fewer special education resources based on student needs and a restructuring of services. Most of the changes in other areas is due to the changes in salaries and benefits, and we'll talk more about that on the next slide. But in total, it was an increase of 5.03% from last year. These are the significant changes. All of those that are listed here total to that 372,000 of the 428. And despite reducing 1.8 FTEs, salaries are expected to increase 153,000. Benefits are expected to increase 136,000, and that's mostly due to that 13% health insurance rate increase and election changes, which is offset by a smaller New Hampshire retirement rate decrease for those employees participating in the New Hampshire retirement system. All other budget changes contribute to the rest of the increase. The RMS budget plans for a net 1.8 staffing decrease for FY24, calculated by an increase of 1 FTE for regular education teachers and a decrease of 2.8 FTEs in special ed assistants. For the regular education teachers, 0.8 FTE is a continuation of a program decision the Dresden School Board supported last year to restructure RMS to operate more like a traditional middle school with interdisciplinary teams. Last year, the RMS administration presented to the board that the new model creates higher performing and more meaningful learning environments. RMS implemented this team approach in the current school year with promising, albeit still early, results. The new schedule also increased project-based enrichment opportunities called plus classes and provided stronger social and emotional learning and smaller class sizes. The other 0.2 FTE is to hire an instructional coach to ensure students receive the highest quality of instruction, and this position is expected to be nearly all funded essentially with Title II grants and not local taxation. The RMS budget proposal offers many educational benefits to our students. We are maintaining access to our current education program, which includes those more project-based plus classes that are structured to be more relevant and less stressful to our students so that they can be lifelong learners. The new model makes students feel more connected to teachers and teachers more connected to students, as the same instructional team instructs the same student cohort in the primary subjects. The program is also expanding to be more inclusive with opening Spanish and French grade 8 field trips to all students. And finally, we'll discuss this in the district-wide section, but the addition of 1 maintenance staff member will help students learn in a clean and safe environment. That concludes the RMS section, and now moving on to Hanover High School expenditures. It's a similar format. So with growing enrollment, Hanover High plans a $705,000 or 4.4 increase in budget expenditures, despite a 1 FTE staff decrease. And just like in RMS, this chart shows the changes by function from the FY23 budget. The next slide shows the significant changes. And of the $705,000 increase for Hanover High, $506,000 of that is due to salaries and benefits and $24,000 more for an additional retirement. For other significant changes, we expect to replace old, ill-fitting classroom furniture and educational equipment for $112,000 to establish a baseline standard that is expected to begin a smaller, say $25,000 or so routine replacement cycle going forward. We also expect to build an aging firebox in the wood chip plant for $79,000. Higher inflation on supplies and utilities is expected to increase this budget by $30,000. And finally, Hanover High School will reduce some athletic and sending school bus transportation by $29,000, resulting in savings. In total, the significant changes equal that 722,000, and the rest are smaller expenditure changes that net in a savings of 17, and that's how we get back to that 705. On to staffing. So various staffing changes at the Hanover High School results in a net 1 FTE staffing decrease. And the areas that are increasing are special ed therapists, English for speakers of other languages due to student need, guidance counselors and regular education assistants, media assistants, special ed assistants, and regular education teachers are seeing reductions. In order to prevent running class sizes that are too small in that single-digit size range, the Hanover High School team increased the minimum enrollment requirement to offer a class section, particularly in electives, which are often the first courses that students decide to withdraw in order to make their final schedules work. That's where we were able to see some of those savings. While we've discussed most of these already, the Hanover High School budget provides a quality education to our students and enhances it in the following ways listed here. We've discussed most of these already. So we'll move on to district-wide. The district-wide budget is increasing $183,000 or 3.38%. The two main areas planned to increase next year are, one, the growth of the SAU budget found in the school board and superintendent services line, and two, the new maintenance staff hire found in the buildings and grounds maintenance and custodial. If the service staff negotiations warrant article is approved, this is where also you would find those appropriations. Diving a bit deeper into the changes in district-wide expenditures, we'll see the same changes in salaries and benefits as before with the addition of that 1 FTE in maintenance. All of our maintenance staff across the SAU 70 sits in our district-wide budget, and then the work is completed at each building, Marion Cross, Ray School, RMS, Hanover High, or the SAU 70 offices, and an invoice gets created and the work is charged back to each district. So by adding one more maintenance staff member, we'll bring our total maintenance staff to equal one for each of our school buildings or 4 employees. The Dresden share of the SAU 70 budget is increasing by $42,000 next year, with the total budget increasing more, but the rest is paid for by the other districts, Norwich and Hanover. And that's based upon an enrollment percentage. Here are the highlights of the total SAU 70 budget. There are 3 positions at the SAU. The first is a new hire of a coordinator of student services to support the director of student services in managing special education, as the director's role has expanded over the last few years beyond special education and additional support is essential. This position is estimated to require $68,000. Second, we are proud that one of our technology staff members has attained the IT skills required to fill an important role we were looking for. The SAU faced some trouble filling a more skilled position and then decided to hire a candidate with less qualifications and support the education and training of the employee who now possesses the skills the SAU was looking for originally. As an educational institution, this is a great success and a win-win for us, and the new promotion increases the budget by $10,000. The last staffing change is less than $10,000 and is a 0.2 FTE increase shared between the finance department and SAU communications. There are no benefits associated with this position, as the SAU plans to top up an existing 0.8 FTE finance position into a full-time role. The SAU 70 budget also had savings, for example, the $20,000 reduction in curriculum stipends, as those expenditures were moved to the district budgets to use available grant funding. We are not asking for debt financing this year, so there's no change to the Dresden debt schedule. However, in FY25, not 24, but 25, Dresden will see a substantial reduction as our debt service for a variety of projects are expected to roll off. We're preparing a plan for this upcoming fiscal capacity, and we shall be receiving results soon for the SAU 70 wide facilities audit. And this audit will assess the condition of all of our buildings, including a special report on how our facilities can be more sustainable with a net zero goal. And if this interests you, please stay tuned to our board meeting calendar for that. That ends the discussion on Dresden expenditures, and now let's move to revenue and net assessment. So more revenue to the tune of $383,000 is projected in FY24, which reduces the $1.3 million expenditure increase to $933,000, on the projected FY24 net assessment. The FY24 net assessment is 3.54% higher than FY23 actual after the tax rates were set. The $383,000 revenue is mostly due, if you want to go to maybe the next slide, Jamie. Sorry. So this is the kind of showing you how did we get that extra revenue. And as you can kind of see, it's really just coming from revenue. We see a little bit of a drop off in state sources from New Hampshire, and that's the reduction of building aid as our debt rolls off from the completing constructions. We'll also see reductions there. So now if we can kind of look at all of the drivers put together, both expenditures and revenue, that blue is now the new revenue helpful increase coming in. You can kind of see where the favorable and unfavorable moves are in the net assessment. So we're looking at a 3.6% net assessment increase in Dresden this for FY24. This is in line with kind of the historical growth and is below recent inflation. This chart shows the growth in the Dresden net assessment in the blue and the inflation is in orange. Over the last several years, our total Dresden net assessment growth has been near or below inflation. And this is total Dresden, but to more fully understand the impact to each of our town taxes, we need to allocate the assessment for Dresden between Norwich and Hanover. So we'll do that on that next slide. There we go. So based on our agreed method, the separate Dresden assessments for Hanover and Norwich are determined based on this something called ADM. It's the resident student average daily membership. It's basically kind of enrollment. And it's a detailed calculation that's calculated by the state of New Hampshire as well. So simply put, if more Hanover students attended Dresden schools in the last reported year, then Hanover will pay more of the Dresden budget and vice versa. So in FY24 budget, the enrollment swings more to Hanover by more than 1.8%, which is primarily why Hanover's share of Dresden will be 6.43% increase versus Norwich will see a 2.41% decrease, even though the total net assessment increase is increasing by 3.57%. Okay, so this is our last section. It's the Dresden Progress Report, and these are just highlighting some of the amazing work from our students. Our Dresden students achieve far above the New Hampshire state average in English, math, and science. And the green is the state average, and the light blue is our Dresden district. Impressive gap. Our Hanover High School students score the highest average SAT scores of all public high schools in New Hampshire by quite a wide margin. Each dot on this chart represents public high school SAT scores, and Hanover High is right there, almost off the page. It's very impressive. Last year, Hanover High School was recognized as a National Blue Ribbon School, receiving a nomination as an exemplary high-performing school. Hanover High School was only one of only 41 public and non-public high schools in the country, and the only high school in New Hampshire to receive this award. And but really, like, where does the learning happen? It's not in awards and it's not in tests. And there were just a couple of slides from RMS that kind of show the wonderful work that happens on a day-to-day basis. These are brains 6th grade students made at RMS, and the creativity is really wonderful. I think using flowers and Fruit Loops to make their colorful brains, like I really appreciate that. And knowing the parts of the brain in 6th grade, it's pretty great. And then here's a group of One too many, sorry. Here we go. And then a group of RMS students traveled to Foxborough for real-world math as they tried to build the best team they could based on player statistics. So that's pretty fun there too. So I'll end that there, and so thank you for supporting our students, and we hope that you will join the Dresden School Board in voting yes on warrant Article 4.
Very nice. Very nice.
Okay, nicely done again. see.
Thank you, Kim, for that amazing presentation, and I love that you worked in Patriots as well. So we jumped right in our earlier comments. I should have just reminded, especially our viewers, I think you all know this, but the Hanover Finance Committee is an appointed town committee composed of Hanover residents charged with reviewing school and municipal financial matters and offering guidance to both officials and residents. We would love to have Norwich members join us to reform a Dresden Finance Committee that has not existed for a number of years. So if you Norwich members have any influence and are able to form a finance committee in town Norwich, we'd love to have them join us for commenting on Dresden matters. But we do try to, as Kari mentioned, we do try to think about the needs of Norwich residents as well. So we do try to keep that perspective. So cutting to the chase, during a public meeting on January 17th, the Hanover Finance Committee voted unanimously to support the proposed fiscal year 24 Dresden School District budget of $31.1 million. That's Articles 2 and 4. And the proposed budget in all articles will increase baseline spending by $1.3 million or 4.4%, as Kim said. I'm just abstracting here. By contrast, after factoring in additional revenues, the amount needed to be raised by taxation is expected to increase by 3.5%. Again, what she said, but okay. And then the split is a 6.4% increase to Hanover, or 1.1 million, and a 2.4% decrease to Dresden, to Norwich of 202,000. Obviously, this swings; it's pro rata. It swings both ways. This year to the favor of Norwich, but it all comes out in the wash. We've had a very productive relationship for many years in a joint school district, and I think it's to the betterment of our two towns. The Hanover Finance Committee noted budgetary challenges included a 13% increase in the cost of healthcare insurance, plus overall inflationary pressure. Other cost drivers included the program changes in middle school, as well as the addition of a maintenance employee in the district-wide expense, as noted, and the addition of 1.2 positions in the SAU. The committee would like to commend the SAU and Dresden administrators and the school board for a very well-run budget process, and extend its thanks and applauds the efforts of students, faculty, staff, in continuing our district's pursuit of educational excellence. I wouldn't be a full-fledged member of the Finance Committee if I didn't have just a comment about how things could change. You gotta have a little dour outlook. And actually, on the back of 3 sequential nights of Hanover town budget process, I have to tell you, the challenges that the town faces for Hanover, I won't opine, but I think there are probably similar pressures in Norwich. They are very real. That's not to mean that it's in any way should affect necessarily expenditures with respect to schools, but it's something to keep in mind that those pressures are real. So with that in mind, I would just say, this is in the language of the statement, that ongoing cost pressures likely to fall on both schools and town residents suggest a balanced approach to key cost drivers, such as staffing levels. Classroom sizes at the low end of the target range could represent an opportunity for consolidation. At the same time, the committee recognizes the ongoing staffing challenges, which could make implementing such changes in the near term difficult. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the community want to make any comments? If not, Article 6 is to transact any non-substantive business that may legally come before the discussion phase of this meeting. And Deb?
You skipped Article 5.
What did I say?
I think
I skipped Article 5. I'm sorry. I jumped ahead.
Gotta hear it up
There you go.
I was getting ready to introduce Deb for another purpose.
there. I repeat.
Okay, so Article 5, I'm sorry. To affirm that the Dresden School Board will establish policies to support the transitioning of school facilities and operations to renewable sources of electricity and renewable sources of heating, cooling, and transportation. Strategies for moving forward will seek effective and sustainable outcomes while being fiscally responsible. Ben.
My apologies. Don't worry, I have no slides. So you heard me say this before at Hanover, so I'll get straight to the point. A few months ago, Sustainable Hanover and its Norwich equivalent came to the Hanover and Dresden boards with an idea to put forth something on the warrant articles that was more aspirational in nature, to encourage the schools to seek renewable energy and get rid of fossil fuels and all that sort of thing. And we like that idea. Like Kim mentioned, we've concurrently been doing a facilities audit, results of which are due, I think, pretty much any day now. And so we're moving in that direction simultaneously anyway, but this gives us voter input and buy-in to see whether we should establish policies that explicitly go to those renewable goals while simultaneously being financially prudent. A lot of wordsmithing was done. The warrant article as written does not have binding dates or binding dollars or timeframes. It's more establishing policies to make those things happen. So.
Thanks, Ben. Again, my apologies for skipping. Again, so any comments on that article? Okay. Moving to Article 6, to transact any non-substantive business that may legally come before the discussion phase of this meeting. Deb, would you explain to us about changes in the voting procedure on voting day?
Yes, and this is not non-substantive. This is actually really important for people coming to vote. We've traditionally had voters park in the SAU lot that is in between the high school and Hovey Lane. That is not going to be available for voters to park in. There will be signage to that effect. But voters are being asked to come into the parking lot that is behind the school by way of the driveway across from the Black Community Center, in between the Quaker meeting and the high school. There will be parking around the back side of the building, and voters will come into the gym through a side hallway. The purpose of this revision is to safeguard students who are moving through the halls in the athletic area, in and out of the library, and to basically seal voters off from the school community during election days. And so people will come in and out that back way, which will mean you will not come in the front of the building, you will not come in the side, you will come in the back, exit the back, and then keep going out onto Hovey Lane. That gate will be open next Tuesday. And so Kendall buses will be directed around to the back of the building. Everybody will be encouraged to go back, to come in.
Corey?
Yeah, so I was wondering if anybody happens to know where then those forms that need to be posted are, because I know in the past they were posted on the bulletin boards very close to the athletic director's office, or else sort of across from, one of the doors where people are no longer going. And so I just wanted to ask or suggest that those forms be moved to where people who are coming in that door can actually see them.
What forms are
Good
you?
idea.
MS.
Yeah, it's the MS 20,
Yeah.
all of the forms that I
The warrants.
posted all over the place.
Yeah, yes. So they
So
should,
we'll move them.
yeah, move them so that when people are coming in, that they can
Great.
avail themselves
Good
of it.
idea, thank you.
Yeah.
Great. Any other comments? Okay, if there aren't any, this concludes the discussion phase. Voting phase takes place at 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. on Tuesday, March 1st at the Hanover High School Gymnasium. May I have a motion to adjourn? So moved. Second?
Second.
We're adjourned. Thank you everyone for coming tonight, and thanks to the board.